Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Get Set Go Beyond Sports. It is people in sports that really inspire us, and we love to bring out stories of them, of their strife, of their pursuit for their passion for sports. And with us today, we have Nisha R. Pujari, who was introduced to the game of fencing in school in 2007. She has won many nationals and state medals in every category that she had played, represented India at the World and Asian Fencing Championships. She is also the youngest fencer to receive the Maharashtra State highest sports award, the Shiv Chhatrapati Award 2013 and 14. She's represented India at the World Championships in Germany and the Youth Asian Championships in Vietnam in 2017. Represented India at Junior and Cadet Asian Championships Indonesia in 2012. Thank you so much for being with us here today, Nisha, and it's a great pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Nisha, we are going to dive straight into fencing because it's also the buzzword now with the qualification of Bhavani Devi for the Olympics. Suddenly, a whole lot of people actually now know about fencing. It's been a relatively unknown sport for a very, very long time. So tell me then, how did you end up choosing fencing way back while you were in school, and how did the exposure for fencing come to you?
So basically, I was very active in sports right from my junior KG. I was into all the sports, like the sports day which we have in our schools and everything. So in 2007, fencing was introduced in our school, as because our school is really very active in sports as well. So they keep introducing new sports into our school. So 2007, fencing was introduced, and a few of the good sports players were chosen to play the sport. At initial level, we had a coach, Mohit sir, who was not the qualified one, but he knew fencing a little bit. So we started fencing with a wooden stick. And then in 2008, my coach Bhushan sir, who recently passed out from the NIS Patiala, he was inducted into the school. And after that, he taught us the right fencing and everything. Actually, I started with my event as foil. There are three events in fencing. So
Yes.
I started my event as foil. And then after Bhushan sir came into our school, he shifted me from foil to saber, because he, of course, knew that what is best for the player to choose as an event. So that is when I was introduced to fencing, and slowly after then, we started training. We started having our morning practice, and I started just developing an interest for this sport.
Right.
And yeah, after that, it was just like I couldn't stop playing fencing after
So
that.
Nisha, can you explain to us these three areas or the three styles of fencing that you mentioned, foil, épée, and saber? What's the difference between the three of them? What do they involve? And which is the one that actually takes you forward and give you the kind of qualification for an Olympic, which is practiced more widely?
So basically, it is like the all the three events they are practiced like other. There are different countries which are good in each of the event. It is not like, oh, there is only one event which will take you to Olympics, but all the three events will take you to Olympic, because all the three events are there in Olympics also. So basically, there are three events, that is EP, foil, and saber. It is just the difference between the three of them is just the target area and the playing thing. Like in EP and foil, we have a sword and we need to pinch in it. And in saber, it is more of a cut weapon, wherein you need to hit the opponent. So basically, that is the major difference in it, and also the target areas. Like in EP, we have a different target. We have the whole body. In saber, we have it till the hips, and in foil, we have the mask till hips without our hands included. So yeah, this is the basic difference in EB foil and saber. Whereas saber is the fastest event. Like we really take points in microseconds. If you go and see a match on YouTube, like we have a 3 minute scoring, we 3 minutes 3 minutes timer.
Right.
wherein Saber is the fastest event in that. And
Right.
EP requires a lot of patience because it is a double point game. You get a score even if both the players get a score simultaneously if it
Right.
is a pinch.
Right.
Yeah, and in foil it is more of a technical game, and it is slightly slower than Saber.
Right. So then tell me something, in spite of the protective gears that you have, does it make fencing an injury prone sport like most other sports are?
Not really, because it is a very technical game. It is not like people usually imagine fencing is like, even if we say sword fighting, people start imagining like it is like the real sword fighting. Two people
Right.
come and fight. It is not like that. It is really very technical. So when you play with all the techniques, so it is very rare that you'll get hurt. But when
Right.
I started playing, because the first coach under whom I started practicing, that time I wasn't very aware of how the techniques are to be used and everything.
Right.
So yeah, earlier I used to get hurt, but after learning the techniques and playing the proper fencing, now there are no scope of getting hurt really.
Right. So then, have you had any incidents or accidents while fencing that you felt were, slightly more injurious in a way, or they could have had a grave injury situation or something, or does fencing eliminate this kind of injury for players?
Like I said before, when I did not know any of the techniques, it was because I have been prone to injuries, and I have got a lot of I have injured my hand and all. But after I learned the techniques and all, it is not really like you will get injured. But yeah, since it is a sword, and just if you just be not be careful with it, you may get hurt with it. Like
Right.
if you are just not practicing properly, and that way with all your bite kit and everything,
Right.
so you may get injured that way.
Right. So tell us
But
something, Nisha. It's very interesting because fencing is such a relatively new sport for most of us. What kind of equipment and training do you actually require for fencing? And then are these equipments easily available, or is it that it's a more expensive sport? Like how did you find it in terms of equipment and training, and how easily did you find it for yourself?
so yeah, fencing is an expensive sport because all the equipments that we use for fencing are mostly imported from outside. So
Right.
it is a relatively expensive sport. But I was lucky enough to be in a school which supported this sport, and for the even in the initial time, we got the equipments really very fast, because
Right.
when I see people from different districts and different schools, they don't usually get the equipments everything really fast, and that too the branded ones are really expensive to buy. And
Right.
I was lucky enough to get those at really very early stage of my fencing, because my school had taken the initiative to get all the equipments for us, even the pist which we play on, even the electronic apparatus which we connect to, everything which we use in fencing. We I was lucky enough to get it very early. but
Right.
um, but to start with, I would say that it is an investment kind of thing, because if you really want to play, so you need to put in every sport. And yeah, this is just a little more expensive, because everything that we wear needs to be imported, and so everything costs a little higher
So
for it.
then, is it also easily available in terms of, even though it is slightly expensive, do you really have to go out scouting for fencing equipments, or is it easily available? Say, especially when there might be people who are, like you said, other districts or other smaller towns. Do they have the exposure, or do they have the availability for it?
So basically, now the things have been improved. Now there are many centers where fencing has been started, Sai centers also. So it is now easily available. But when I started, it was not that easy available, because there were only few dealers who used to import those equipments to India, and we used to get it from them. So now it is basically very easy, but still for the smaller towns, as you said, it is still a slightly difficult task for them to get those equipments to them. And since there are in every game, since there are branded and non-branded things, so to get those branded things, to get the proper fencing sword and everything, it is slightly difficult for them now as well.
Right. So tell me, what kind of physical and mental skills do, or can a child develop by learning and practicing fencing at an early age in their lives? Like, how did it also benefit you?
So basically, I feel fencing is both. It is a mixture of physical and mental thing, because it is just a 3 minute game, and you need to think really fast of what the next action should be. Should you play on a defense side, or should you play on a action side, and what should you repose when the opponent attacks? Or it is really very fast when in your mind you need to think really fast. So it has helped me in a lot of ways, because I never used to study a lot, but it has improved my concentration in a way, because you need to concentrate on the opponent also, you need to concentrate on the opponent's sword, you need to concentrate on everything, on his movement, everything. So yeah, mentally it has been a great thing, because it has improved my mental ability a lot, concentration, my focus, my like I cannot miss a thing without like that only. I need to focus a lot for it. So it improves in every area that way. And physically, of course, physically every sport is sport needs physical training that way.
Right.
So
So
yes.
for fencing, what is the kind of physical training that you actually go through?
For my event, as it is very fast, so I need a lot of strength training, I need a lot of quickness in my movements, so I need a lot of that. I need a lot of stamina for it, because even if it is a 3 minute game, you need to just give it your best in that 3 minutes, so that you win. So a lot of
Right.
stamina, a lot of strength and conditioning is needed, a lot
Right.
of quickness is needed in my movements,
Right.
that kind
And
of.
so then do you train with your coach for your agility, stamina, and strength, or then do you have to do this, away from the sport, or do you go outside of your, coaching and do it for yourself?
So basically, there are different types. Like in even in fencing, also there are fencing oriented agility exercises also. But in India, we don't have a lot of them here, because there are really very advanced techniques which are used outside, wherein it is only related to fencing. Like you need to just have a quick movement for quick movements also, for your reflexes, to improve your reflexes, but we don't have that in India. So basically, I usually practice the normal agility exercises which we do, and a little bit of for fencing, a little bit of whatever my coach instructs me that way, but
Right.
not typically very much into the uh, fencing related agility exercises which are practiced outside.
Right. So while India has such a small footprint in a game like fencing, um, how easy or then how difficult is it to actually become competent at fencing?
There may be different answers to this, but because I am a player who's not in Sai, and this game is not practiced like some other game where we have different clubs or we have different centers where fencing is actually practiced. This is only where this is the game where only Sai plays a major role, because most of the players which play in fencing are mainly from Sai,
Right.
and we don't have different centers. And me not being into a Sai center, I feel I've missed a lot of opportunities that way, because when you are inside, you get a lot more exposure to things. You get a lot more exposure to your equipments also. So that way, for me, it has been a mixed journey, wherein I have been where I was lucky enough to not be inside, but I have been unlucky at the same time, for because I have been deprived of many opportunities that could have helped me to improve my sport.
Right. So also, like most other sports, is there some kind of a age cutoff that sort of cuts you off from being competitive, or to take your sport further?
Yeah, there are age groups which are being followed. Like we have the under 14, we have the under 17. So when I started, I started with my under 14. So at that point of time, when you start from your under 14, you have a lot of scope of improving your game, because you play your under 14, you have the chance of playing in under 17, 19, and henceforth. But now, since I'm in only my I can play only in my senior category. So the scope of improvement and the scope of playing more games, more tournaments is very less for me, because I can only play a one tournament in my whole year.
Right.
So yeah, so it affects my performance, because when you continuously play different tournaments, you are in a tempo where you play really well whenever you go for a tournament, and you feel confident. But because I have only one tournament to play in a year, I feel a bit underconfident, because when I see younger players playing, when I see my seniors playing, of course I feel like, oh, maybe I am not that fit, or maybe I'm not that, I haven't practiced. Maybe
Right.
they have practiced all over the year and they have played so many tournaments. So
Right.
yeah, that way it affects me mentally a bit.
Right. So, can you give us a little brief of how these, for anybody who's aspiring to learn fencing and wants to know how do you start? Like, at several games, it starts from school level competitions. And then, like you mentioned, it's a little club level. And then it gets to district and regional, and then a state, and then a national. So, how does it go with fencing? How do you reach at a competitive level in fencing?
So it is basically similar to other games as well. Like you start with your school, then we have the districts, then we have the states, and then we have the nationals and internationals.
Right.
Yeah. So it is
And
all
is there participation, like is there enough competitive participation for a game like fencing at every level of the competition?
Not really. At nationals, we have a lot of participation being seen, but when you play for a district, when we have the district matches, when we have the division matches, the participation is comparatively less as compared to the nationals. But yeah, at national levels, we have a quite good competition, and it has been seen that the competition level has been increasing over the years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, what do you think, in your, in your opinion, what more can be done from your own experience as well for bringing up more fencers in our country, or what can be done at the grassroots for fencing?
Um, Basically, I feel like because I have been through this, that I feel there should be more clubs or more centers to be started apart from Sai. Sai has
Right.
played a major role in this game, but apart from Sai, there needs to be a lot of clubs and centers to be started, wherein mostly the grassroots need to be really upgraded, because grassroots is where the child really understands whether he's interested or he's not interested, or he's willing to take up the sport.
Right.
So yeah, because when I also started, it was under 14, but I think we need to start from a really early age, so that the child develops the thing really fast, so that he or she can play it well in the long term.
Right. So then tell me, like other sports and like most other, sports which are sort of non-popular and niche, uh, how do you manage your finances for pursuing the sports, especially when you said that the equipment isn't, as of today, is expensive. So how do you manage finances, or how have you known of other players managing their finances for their for themselves? Is there any kind of funding or sponsorship that is available?
So basically, I had looked for some sponsors, but I did not get, as it is a niche sport and people are not really, people now do know fencing, but earlier people did not know what is fencing. So
Right.
people were not really interested into investing into fencing or funding any fencer as such. So I everything that I have been doing, and every tournament that I've been playing, all my equipments, I have been all the finances have been taken care by myself. I did not get any funding, but I see now players getting a bit of sponsorship for like inclined partners for their, maybe their tickets, or maybe their kid sponsors or something
Right.
like that. And I think that now maybe more sponsor will be interested in investing in fencing after the Olympic qualification.
Right, right. So, what are your upcoming projects or tournaments, and what is it? How are you then involved in the sport apart from the yearly participation that you train for?
Basically, I just completed my sports management last year, so I really hope to do something good for fencing. I have some plans in my mind for the upcoming fencers and fencing. But yeah, let's see what how it
Yes,
goes.
I'm sure we really wish you all the best for this, because I'm sure when sports people get back to the sport with all of the experience that they have gained, there is a lot more that can improve for the rest of the people, and people and little children who want to pursue that sport further. So I'm going to have some little fun questions now with you after so much of a serious talk. You have to tell me true or false.
Okay.
There is electric wiring involved in fencing.
True.
Age is an important criteria in fencing.
False.
You can speak French.
Uh, Not fully, but I just know the salutations in French, and only the fencing related thing of the pray, alley, and everything. Only that.
You love reading books.
False.
Apart from fencing, you love to play badminton.
True.
A bout in fencing starts at 4 meters.
Um, True.
All right. And now I want you to tell us something about fencing that most people don't know about. Something which is like, um, you know, unknown about fencing to most people.
Okay, so many people have this question of why the white kit of fencing is white and not black and or different color. So the reason is like when earlier people used to play fencing, they did not have the electric apparatus and everything to play with, and there was a little confusion of whose point it is, like because they don't have anything, and like you cannot just see with your naked eyes if it is a point or not. So they used to dip the tip of the sword in the ink, and then they used to play with the white kits up. So then you used to know that okay, it is a pinch because then there is a stain of the ink on the white kit. So yeah, this is the
And it's very
fencing related
interesting. So
info.
now that is now replaced by the electric.
Yeah, electric jacket, we have it on it, the white kit.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Nisha. I'm very sure that there will be a lot of aspiring fencers out there who would have got a lot of information from you in terms of how really the sport is and how you can sort of progress in it and where we all stand in fencing. Thank you so much for being a part of Get Set Go Beyond Sports with me, and thank you for taking your time. We wish you all the very best.
Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone for watching and liking, subscribing. Do continue to share and comment and support all of Go Beyond Sports, all of the sports players and the interviews. Thank you.